prototype's deeper inside. Someone left a rail sign here. Anything useful?
So, since you're watching this video, it's likely that you're an advocate of the Elder Scrolls series. Well, since Fallout 4 came out, there hasn't really been any news on the Elder Scrolls besides that it's under development currently now and that it's not going to be coming out anytime soon. Well, I'm praying to God has improved much more than Skyrim did, due to the fact that Skyrim had many problems plaguing it. Now, in this video, I'll be discussing how Elder Scrolls 6, Elder Scrolls Valenwood, Elder Scrolls Hammerfell, whatever you're going to call it, could be improved and become Game of the Year material instead of just continually making the same mistakes that Bethesda keeps doing. Now, to clarify, this isn't a dissing video. I do not hate Bethesda. In fact, they're my third favorite gaming company. Now, obviously, there has been some of these problems are in Oblivion and Morrowind, but mostly through Skyrim. Now, I'm going to be discussing these. Now, let me get straight to the point. The main problem that I had with Skyrim was the fetch quests. Now, everyone knows about fetch quest. A random NPC or someone you're probably not even going to know later on gives you a quest to find something for them. Sometimes it's something big like a soul gem or something like that, but other times it's just like a mammoth horn. They're so repetitive. It gets annoying when in like every city you go to there's at least 3 fetch quests in the game. Now, when you do this, it shows there's a lack of originality in the game. There's a lack of content. It makes us feel like that you could do much better than that. And Bethesda, you can. You've created many great games, but why are you gonna keep repeating the same mistakes and adding these in? You can add in Oblivion. There were many quests. Like there was one where you had to go inside a painting, and you had to like clear this guy's soul or something. But in Skyrim, there hasn't been a lot of originality, if you know what I'm trying to say. Now, there were some good quests in Skyrim, like the Daedric quests, like Sheargrass quests when you have to do the puzzles, which were kind of easy, but I'll get to that point afterwards. In which you're in Plagueis the second's mind, and you have to stop him from being insane to get to Wubberjack. It's interesting, but when you add a high percentage of fetch quests into this picture, it makes it feel as that there's no content at all. Now, the second problem I'm going to address is puzzles. Now, the puzzles in the Elder Scrolls series are not always the strongest. In fact, the puzzles in Bethesda are not always the strongest. The railroad was easy to find in Fallout 4. And it's not hard to do. It's like they're insulting our intelligence when we try to do the puzzles in Skyrim. You just have to read something on the back of a claw, and you have to put it on the stone tablet. Now, I know they can do better than this. Puzzles are not that hard to make. Like, a good example of a game utilizing puzzles is the current PlayStation Plus free game, Grim Fandango. It uses puzzles that actually challenges your mind. Now, Bethesda's just using common sense. It just makes it feel like the game's been dumbed down since Morrowind. Now, to solve this problem, I suppose they can add more, well, technical puzzles. Like, for example, to open a certain door, you need to find the key phrase. But to find the key phrase, you have to go through a sort of maze, and it's a long, elaborate plan. But I think it will work well if they add more technical puzzles. Now, the third problem that I had the most anger towards, in fact, this might not just go to the Elder Scrolls series. It goes to most RPGs in general. It's how meta the spells are. And by meta, I mean like how generic it is. You have your ice spells, your fire spells, your lightning, and then you have your mage armor spells, telekinesis. It's so boring. Like I understand like these spells have all different attributes. Like fire, when you get to a certain perk, it can set enemies on fire, which it should already do, to be honest. And set them on fire, make them flee. Ice freezes them and makes them slow down their movement. And lightning, I can't even remember what lightning does, but I think they should add more imaginative spells. It's a role-playing game. It's a fantasy game. They can add as many aspects to magic as they want. Like instead of using, why don't they use something like gravity, for example? Imagine the gameplay features you can have while using gravity as a magic attack, and imagine using a gravity ball, a ball of gravity to create a black hole, and you can use that to change your environment. That will make the gameplay so much better, or make it feel more fun being a mage. Because on my third playthrough through Skyrim, I tried playing as a pure mage, and at first it felt good. I'm not gonna lie, because I couldn't just charge in. I couldn't just charge in and just use elemental fury to just take someone out. I had to actually think about my tactics and sometimes use my follower to flank them while I do a pincer attack. But I think when I went furthermore, when I went on through the game, it just felt kind of boring. Like when I got to level 92, because I had the legendary edition, and I fought the Ebony Warrior, it got boring after that. There was no technique I needed to do because all my spells can just either paralyze, they can stagger, which was ridiculously OP, or they can just absorb. But in general, I just think they need to add some new spells. Don't use the generic spells that all RPG uses. Add something new to the table. I know you can do this Bethesda, because you've already done this with your Fallout games. Well, not in this specific context, but you've already used original concepts and ideas in Fallout. You can definitely do that in the Elder Scrolls. Now, the most pressing problem is the enemies. Now, I might get a lot of flack for this, but for Skyrim, it's just too boring. Like the enemies, they don't have any tactics to fight against you. It's if you find the enemy and you have your dual wielding, 80% of the time, you can just run at them with elemental fury and just keep on hitting them, or keep bashing them with the shield. Their AI is just so predictable. They need to add more variation to their attacks if they want to make the game less repetitive. That's why the fighting just seems like a drag nowadays when I go back and play the game. The difference between Fallout 4 and this is that Fallout 4 and Skyrim, Fallout 4, each of the separate enemies have their own specific AI. So if there was for example, if there was a super mutant will more likely charge in and try to attack you than a Corsa would. Now, I'm not just talking about the AI in general. I'm talking about the actual enemy's design. It just seems unoriginal.